I'm Carol Royal, and I played the bionic vampire, Kiera, in episode 8, Duel, of Blake 7. And this is Blake 7, The Way Back.
Target vehicle maintaining course and speed.
Set for orbital compensation. We'll use the planet to mask us from his scanners.
Orbital shift computed.
Execute. Make it random pulse emission. I'm not going to lose him now.
I wonder what the surface conditions are like.
Well, welcome to Blake 7, The Way Back, and our interview series. Today, we're going to be chatting with a man who is behind the new special effects on the Blu-ray editions of Blake 7, and that is Chris Thompson. G'day, Chris.
Hello, how's it going?
Great, welcome. Great to talk to you.
Thanks for having me back. We were just saying like how long it's been since we last talked, and it was like 4 years ago on Sounds of Audio, wasn't it?
It was. And back then you were just doing a few covers, you were starting to do a few cartoons and comics, you were starting to do a bit of model work, but in the last 4 years has really, you've exploded with your output. So what are some of the things you've been doing in the last 4 years?
I've been continuing my run of Big Finish trailers from here and there, but recently brought on to the Doctor Who The Collection range. I'd been doing special effects for their trailers since one of the fourth Doctor box sets, whichever one Destiny of the Daleks was on, and I've been doing little bits and pieces for them. And for season 20, they turned around and asked me if I wanted to do alternate special effects for Enlightenment and Snake Dance. I did, and that was really fun. And then when we went on to Horror of Fang Rock, which was the next one for season 15, I had pitched doing a practical Rutan puppet as sort of just I really like, whenever you're doing new effects for something like Doctor Who, you don't want to wipe all that stuff away and then replace it with really modern looking CG effects, just because like it A doesn't fit, and B,
the Rutan stuff in Fang Rock is fantastic.
My favorite that we've done, actually. It's one of the few things I look back on and I'm like, that's exactly what I wanted it to look like in my head.
Now I remember Reuben the Rutan.
You know our form?
Well, when you've seen one Rutan, you've seen them all.
We are a Rutan scout. We are specially trained in the new metamorphosis techniques.
Well, I expect you'll get better at it in time. What are you doing in this part of the galaxy, anyway?
That doesn't concern you. You are to be destroyed.
You failed.
Failed? We are sending a signal to the mothership with the power from the primitive mechanism below.
You're not, you know.
It's of no importance. The ship will home in on the primary signal.
I'm sorry to disappoint you. I fixed that as well, Oysterface.
All your interference is useless. The beam was transmitting long enough for the mothership to trace the signal.
What kept you?
The time for talk is over.
It is here, Doctor!
Your triumph will be short. Earth mothership will blast this island into molten rock. We die for the glory of our race. Long live the rock!
But that led to practical models for all episodes of season 25, and then from that led to Blake 7, and now we're 2.5 seasons of Blake 7 down, and another season of Doctor Who since then. And amongst that, I've also been writing books for the Jerry Anderson estate, so I've been doing Terrorhawks graphic novels and technical manuals for Thunderbirds, Fireball XL5, Space 1999, UFO, Joe 90 and Stingray, doing just the odd bits and pieces here, there, and everywhere. So I've been busy.
Enjoying it?
Oh yeah, I've not had to do a boring corporate job in some considerable time, and I'm extremely lucky about that.
With the new Doctor Who sets, there's a lot of talk about AI in terms of upscaling as well. Is that anything to do with the special effects, or is that a separate thing altogether?
I like to keep the effects stuff separate, and I am trying to kind of keep the whole practical side of the thing along. All that stuff will be done before it reaches us, and then we're just the next step along. And then
Gotcha.
What we do will be CG and model effects.
How did you get invited to start working on the Blu-ray and special effects?
I got an email from Russell Minton out of the blue, and I think it was around the time I was working on the Shades of Fear trailer for the Ninth Doctor Adventures.
You've heard it said that the colour of monsters is green. But is it really? Sure, some of them are. But some of my best friends are green. And red and blue and vermilion. Whereas some of my worst foes look just like you and me. There's really no way to predict. You can't decide where evil lurks on sight. It doesn't work like that. Evil can be in a cloud, a charity shop, a bunch of flowers. Sometimes, just sometimes, it can be in the shadows. Now, who's feeling green?
Big Finish, for the love of stories.
And I remember very specifically, it was, we want new stuff for Enlightenment and Snake Dance. We also want you to have a think about season 15. Specifically, they had mentioned Underworld, but I'd looked at Underworld and I was like, I don't know if that's... basically, the response I gave them was, I don't think I can salvage Underworld, but I might be able to make Fang Rock go from an A to an A+, if that makes any sense. And they seem pretty happy with that.
You're right. Steam yacht, by the look of it.
And then I remember getting the pitch for that Shades of Fear trailer, and the whole theme of that was green monsters. And be like, I can't put the Rutan in. Yeah, so that sort of meant that I was working on Enlightenment, which I think is okay. I know it's not had a particularly warm reception from the fans, and obviously there's already the original CG version of that one out there, which a lot of people seem to like. Though it's a bit of a different vibe to it. It was more trying to make it into a 2005 Doctor Who episode, whereas we try to make everything look like it was made at the time, but just with a bit more money. I am much happy with how the Mara came out in Snake Dance. It seems a lot more it's like it seems quite animated. I don't know if it's necessarily as the good as the one they made for Kinder, but people seem to have enjoyed it, so that's the main thing.
Is that a model or is that?
That's CG. The first practical effect we really went to was the Rutan.
So how did you come about making a practical effect? So how did you design the route and who made it, and then how did you film it?
Initially, I made a CG model of what I had in mind, and part of that was mixing the original design with the one that they had done for the adventure games, the gunpowder plot. And there was elements that I wanted to bring in. Like, I didn't like the way the Rutans kind of just fly around. I wanted something that could feasibly fight us on Taron if you needed it to. So I gave it these three tripod legs and kept the dome of the one from Fang Rock, but had the eye from the one from Gunpowder Plot, and then just a bunch of vestigial tentacles. I then inverted that model so it was effectively a negative mold, and I got my friend Ryan Wade to use his 3D printers to print it out. Yeah, effectively, I got the Rutan modeled up. I inverted the model and sent it to my friend Ryan Wade to be printed as a negative mold. I then bought a metric ton of silicone, made the tentacles first, then started to work to the body and things like that, and eventually sculpted this creature. Our lack of experience really kind of came into play because it was so heavy. I used way too much silicone. Like, what you should obviously do is make like a mesh or something and then have it drip over it. But no, I just used thick silicone in like
So it was solid.
It wasn't entirely solid. I'd made a mold and put a basketball in to kind of act as negative space, but it still was way more than I should have. I used special effects silicone for everything except for the dome, where I used a slightly cheaper version, which they use for dildos. So there was that as well. But effectively, we got this final creature done, and then we had done some paintwork on it, and I used an obsidian ball for the eye as well. So the eye had a really nice shark-like darkness to it. Then we went round to my friend Andrew Clement's house. I invited down my friends Ryan, Connor Flanagan, and Ben Page. And we just shot it like it would have been classic Doctor Who. We put a black screen up because I wanted to, you can sort of use like a luma key because I knew the Rutan itself would be fairly luminous. It gives you that kind of blue screen fringing that you would have got back in the day. So it still looks like it's composited in, but it's just a bit more deliberate. The way it kind of moves up the stairs and attacks people. And that bit whenever it's talking with the Doctor and you can actually have it gesticulate a little bit and react and have a bit of emotion. So considering that we were just making it up as we go along, I do think it did come out. It's one of the few things I look at and I'm like, that's probably as what I expected it to look in my head. And the BBC seemed pretty happy. We were able to bring him along to the BFI screening and had a great time with it.
So how did you come to work on the Blake 7 box sets?
We were literally just gearing up for season 25, which was happening pretty shortly after. And Russell had come up to me at the bar in the BFI and been like, have you ever heard of Blake 7? Obviously, like I grew up with it as a kid. I used to watch it on Blu-ray UK Gold. I'd have never really considered the possibility of redoing the effects for it. As soon as you said it, I was like, hell yeah. I was actually only really commissioned to do the compositing for it, funnily enough, because originally the plan had been to shoot everything out in England over like 2 days and then bring it back. But very quickly, once I did my initial going through the episodes and working everything out, it was very apparent that it was going to be a lot more work than involved, and also like we were going to have to split up the duties between the England and the Belfast team because like 2 days was not enough to shoot what we need.
Can we go back a step? So, who is the team, and what are different members of the team doing?
Paul Vinicius is the producer. He works out in England, and he's responsible for the restoration. Mike Tucker does a lot of the model making and is effectively on hand to build everything and help us film it and stuff like that. And obviously, Matt Irvine, we actually film in his local town hall. And Matt Irvine works on season 1 and 2 of Blake 7 anyway. So having him on board is great, not only for the fact he still owns half the stuff he built back in the day.
By owns, that mean when the BBC tried to chuck it all out, he took it home?
Yeah. So like his house is incredible because you're just walking, like you come up to his workshop and Sentinel-6 is just on a string sitting there, or bits of who knows what, just like or K9 even. K9's there.
Yeah.
But it's not a model of K9, it's K9. There's all that stuff. And then on season 1, our videographer was Matt Patrick, and then going forward, our videographers being Jeremy Bishop. And then over here in Northern Ireland, Andrew Clements, Ben Page, Ryan Wade, and Connor Flanagan sort of build and shoot everything. And then Richard Ashton is a model maker in England that produces some of the more complex models that we need to be built. As a sort of an umbrella, I kind of pick all the shots and direct them. Everything has sort of like a singular vision, if that makes any sense.
So your job is you actually look at every episode, and what you sit there and you work out what is every effect shot in that episode, and what are you going to do with it? And that's your job.
Yes, composite it on the other side. So once we filmed everything, it comes back to me, and I've got to like go through all 400 and something shots and put that together effectively.
Okay, so that's all just done digitally on a computer?
Yes. To be fair, Mike, it amuses Mike no end, but like on that Warriors of the Deep shoot we just did, we did a Blake 7 season 3 shoot where we also shot Sentinel-6 for Warriors of the Deep. And I composited all the Warriors of the Sentinel-6 stuff on the plane on the way back to Belfast.
You have entered a forbidden military zone. Transmit your security clearance code, or you will be destroyed.
So I can be quite remote with it, which is quite nice because laptops are a lot more powerful than they used to be.
You've made your list, then how do you organize who's going to build what ships you're going to use, models, CGI?
We have a big old meeting. Using season 2 is a good example because season 1 was done in a bit of a rush, whereas we're able to get our act together a bit more for season 2 and like get a new Liberator built specifically to be filmed and things like that by Richard. Effectively, what I'll do is I'll do my initial pass, which is going through every episode, labeling all the special effects shots and describing them. And then there can be a little bit of a back and forth on that. Just like there's some stuff that we may not need to do, or some stuff we don't have time to do in some instances. That gets built into an asset list, which is what digital assets need to be made, what practical assets need to be made. For something like Blake 7 Season 2, that would also be broken into what stuff already exists. Like, is there something a fan has made that we can borrow, or is there something we need to build ourselves?
Well, can I just jump on something you said there? You said for Season 2, you built a Liberator specifically for filming. What did you do in Season 1? What was the difference?
So season 1, we used a Liberator built by a very talented chap called Phil Stevens. And the issue we had was partly time. Like we effectively only had a day and a bit to shoot with that Liberator. But the other issue is there's been... So shooting miniature is different from a display model. Display models are often painted and weathered to look like they are on screen. Whereas something like the Liberator is being shot with a bunch of arc lights shining on it at maximum brightness. So the real Liberator itself is much darker and has like a lot more contrasted patterns all over it. A lot of these things look really different whenever you see them off camera. The other thing is that it inherited a couple of the problems that the original filming model had, mainly which there's a massive rod sticking out the bottom of it, which I could work around digitally for some stuff, but it did slow things down quite dramatically because I'd have to paint the thing out anytime that it intersected with one of the neutron blasters.
Are you sure about them, Sinifer?
Not yet. This may not be their killing ground.
Blake!
On the new Liberator, a couple of things I really wanted to do with it. One was to make it as accurate as possible, because a lot of the restorations on the older, like the original existing Liberator model and the various recreations thereof, have kind of drifted away from what the original actually looked like. So we did our best to only use references from the 70s and 80s, but mainly the 70s. Jonathan Helm, who does the production diary books, basically just sent me an entire archive of everything he had. And that meant I was able to get the shape down. And sort of Richard had a really good reference of what all the detail work is. Because again, there's a lot of new detail that's been added to a lot of the later versions of the Liberator that aren't there on the original model. Going back to Generation 1, and just really doing our best to have it look like exactly as how it was delivered in Spacefall. The other key thing I wanted was it to be able to be side mounted so that we can put a rod in the side, which means it can fly over or from behind and it doesn't obscure it at all. And those side mounts could also be taken out and replaced with battle damage. So if it gets damaged in multiple episodes, like we've got a whole blast mark on the side of it that we can pop in. It can also be disassembled for filming, so you can take all the little wiry bits out and the nose off, the end off, and break it into bits so it's easy to move around. The Liberator's about CG half the time in season 1. For season 2, it's only CG in 6 shots. Out of, I think, season 2 had 450 shots across the entire thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, and also Richard built us a small one. I had a little one I made for season 1, which was a bit lacking because my skills are pretty terrible. But yeah, so the big one is the same size as the original one, which is probably about almost 3 foot, probably 2.5 maybe. The little one is that size. And Richard was able to take all the detail from the big one and perfectly bring it down to a little one, to the point where even he can't tell sometimes when I use it in a shot.
So how many days of filming did you do for the model work?
So it's hard to keep track of. For season 2, we definitely had about 6 Liberator shoots, which would have been like 1 half day of filming usually. And then we've got to film everything here and there. Luckily, I have a lot of space in my house. So rather than having to rent out a large area every time, we can just have these little shoots at my place. If it's like a small model like the Andromedaean fleet or the pursuit ship, it's easy enough just to rig up in here and like as and when I need it. So if I suddenly have the inspiration for a new shot, or if it's something I don't have, I can just rig it up quickly and go for it.
Do you usually film on a black backdrop or color?
So if it specifically needs to intersect with something, I'll use a blue screen, just because the Liberator's got green bits, so a green screen wouldn't really work. But normally we shoot on black, kind of like they did in 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
And that means that you don't get any fringing around the ships. So rather than the kind of jaggy edges that you get with a blue screen, which admittedly aren't that jaggy anymore, but I would rather it means I just need to put the stars on top of the black rather than having to cut out the entire ship and putting black behind it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It makes it feel a bit sharper.
Yeah, I mean, it's feeling like these are really well loved. I mean, part of the draw of the Blue Doctor Who Blu-ray collection is it they just feel loved in terms of how they've been created. And so when season one or A came out of Blake Seven, you could once again feel the love of the people putting into it. Is there a reasonable budget that you guys have been given, or are you just working on a oily rag?
I'm told it's low, but it's more than I've ever been given in my life. It's one of those things where like I think like it is quite low for what it is, and I think when you compare it to like normal broadcast, it's quite low. But like Russell does take care of us. Like you know, if we're flying anywhere, we've got a nice hotel. Like everything's been organized, and like I do feel well treated as well. It is well loved. It's also fun. Like the key thing, like for example, one of my favorite effects in season one is the Deliverance rocket.
Look at this. A chemical rocket in launch position.
Scan your system to clear, green and stable. Got it.
That's an almost entirely practical shot whenever it's in its launch bay. I've added a little bit of like lighting in post. That's just a B&Q shelving unit with bits of Eagle transporter and then Saturn V rocket, which I've modified, just shoved in it. And that was just shot in my yard, like with a hole in the top of it so the light comes in. And like that, it's just so satisfying to kind of look at and to sort of know what that is, but also have it look as good as it does on screen, which felt quite satisfying.
Do you have any idea how many hours of man hours are going into every episode?
I don't wish to speculate. The thing is, I'm a chronic overworker. I think if people look at my output from the last couple of years, it is a bit insane, and that's just because I'm currently doing what I love. Like, if I had a proper regular big boy job, then I'd probably be doing this around it. So a lot, I'd say. Like there's days I'll go to Cafe Nero to do teleport shots, and I'll start at like 11 and I'd be there till like 7.
Put us down.
Because it is over 400 shot. Like every Blu-ray we've done for the last 3 or 4 of them has been 300 to 400 shots, if not more. I think season 21 at 470. It is a lot, but it's satisfying.
at what point do you get the cleaned up version that you're then adding your effects to? Are you just doing your bits and timing them in, and they're being added as it gets cleaned up? How's the actual process of putting together the episode work?
So usually what happens, I'll get the footage after the restoration team have finished with it effectively. Usually, like on the last couple, I've been given a new version at the last minute, so I've had to re-render a bunch of things to match it. It's a case of on something like Blake, I'd put everything into like various drives and send it to Paul, and then Paul will assemble the all the shots into the episodes into its appropriate branches.
So were you involved in the new title sequence with the smoother Liberator floating through?
Yes. So that was kind of an idea to like that wasn't originally one thing something we were thought about, but it's something I kind of wanted to do just to have the title sequence because the title sequence itself is really good. It's quite iconic. But you want that feeling of I want fans to know that they're watching which version they're watching quite early on. So having the sudden reveal of the Liberator and then you have that like swoop shot and like it's still the same color as it is in the title sequence and all that stuff, but and that wasn't too difficult to do. Like it was kind of fun removing the Liberator, the original Liberator from the background, and then having it animate with it as it flies past.
You also mentioned the teleport shots as well you're working on. What kind of thought was put into the extra bits that you would put into another iconic thing of Blake 7, and that's the teleport shots?
Well, I'd say that's definitely the most controversial thing we've done.
I love it, I've got to say.
Yeah, I love it too.
I've seen a few people sort of accuse us of just changing it for changing's sake. For me, the reason why we changed, technically it's both of them. For the ship side, what happens, like if you look, usually in the reverse shot, everything will go dark, there'll be a bright orange light, and then Dudley will do his bit. That would never happen in the reverse shot. There wouldn't be anything to kind of match up with the way the lighting changed and things. So I wanted to put the glow in, partly for that, and partly to disguise the fact that the edges of the frame will also wibble sometimes. And I think for season 1, we may have overdone it a bit, but I calmed it down a bit for season 2. And then on the ground side, whenever they materialize, initially I wanted to keep the line, the sort of the outline, but I wanted it to form from above, as if the Liberator was projecting it down, and then all the topology would sort of do the wow, and then it would form up. But then I realized that most of those shots were mid shots, so you wouldn't have seen any of that. I just did the traditional sort of outline forming, but I made it a bit more 3D. And I tried to have it match up over the actors a bit better, because obviously sometimes it's a bit offset, because I think the person who was doing it was drawing it with like a digital pen by eye.
And you can sometimes see it moving mid shot to line up, which I remember.
And it's funny because sometimes the actors do hold their positions and sometimes they don't. They'll be lined up and then someone will just go like, oh yeah, and you'll be like, but it's not sometimes I'm able to clean it up quite well. I think for most of season 2, it's a lot better than season 1.
What are your favorite episodes?
Of Blake, Star 1 is a big one. Star 1 and Redemption, both from a special effects point of view, but also they're just really good episodes. I do like Gambit. Gambits are quite fun. Going through season 3 has been quite fun because there's that sort of middle of the season run of really good episodes.
After a couple of really bad episodes.
Yeah.
It starts really high, crashes really badly, and then it goes really good again.
Yeah, it does have like two of the Ben Steed trilogy, which is oh boy. How they kept getting that guy back, I do not know. Yeah, no, I think a lot of my favorites are in season 2. Like I think Star 1 is definitely the pinnacle for me. But I do love Rumors of Death. Children of Aron's also really, really good. Season 4 I'm not as familiar with, but I did like Gold.
No doubt you'll get very familiar with season 4 soon.
We hope.
We hope. I mean, they seem to be selling well, don't they? I mean, have people been happy with the sales? Do you know?
I think so. I think it definitely overperformed. But then again, I think there was that expectation that Doctor Who wouldn't do that well. The message that people keep sending is physical media is dead. And what we're finding out, and this goes to Thunderbirds as well, because we just Anson Entertainment just did Thunderbirds on Blu-ray, and it oversold like quite considerably. And I think there is this element of this is like you sort of need to do the best box set you possibly can because they're probably not going to redo it for they're probably not going to come out in 4K is a thing. Like, there's probably until it can get beamed directly into your retinas, I think that this is possibly sort of as good as it gets. So there's this real feeling of, okay, well, let's make this release as special as possible. And that is why, like, you tend to see so much effort being put into all the documentaries and the special effects and bits and bobs like that.
I think as much as people were saying physical media is dead, I think people are realizing more and more they can't get and watch what they want to watch when they want to watch it, because streaming services aren't reliable and they take things off. And I can't see why they can't just leave everything on all the time, but for some reason streamers are deciding not to do that. And so, I think Doctor Who people have been mucked up a lot in terms of where's it gone, where's it now. Blake Seven had the same thing. It was on one streaming service, now it's gone. So I think people are now saying, no, no, we do want the physical. We do want the physical because that's the only way of being sure you've got it.
Yeah, well, I think I think that's true. Like the problem is that having a streaming service, because most of them have to operate via licenses and things like that. So like it's costly for them to leave a show on forever, but also they need to kind of have that feeling of scarcity. Like you need to watch the show now before it goes and things like that, and just to try and spur people on to, oh, we've now added this show to our roster, come over here, and then when that license run out, it goes somewhere else. And I don't know, it's not a particularly great system, and I think like you go into HMV today, and it is actually quite encouraging that okay, admittedly there's less of a physical media section in terms of Blu-rays and DVDs, but it's all much more obscure stuff. Like I saw a lot of the old Godzilla films in the Belfast HMV, and like that is completely unimaginable for my 10-year-old brain because we had to really scour like the internet to find any scrap of Godzilla material, and now I can just go to the shop and buy it.
Says he who grew up with internet, but that's okay, you young man thing. Now, I think you got some models there. What have you got? What can you show us? What have you brought down?
I showed this one off on the episode of Duel. So this is the pursuit ship built by Richard Ashton for Blake Seven Season 1.
How's it made? And what's it made of?
So this is a 3D print.
Right. Wow.
So this one's resin. And I was able to put all the detail on it, and then Richard did his own pass and then did some colors. I gave them like absolutely no time to do this in, so I've always been really impressed with how fast he can bring the stuff out. But
so who did the 3D print design? Did you do the design and then he printed it?
yeah, I'm a bit anal when it comes to design, but also I don't really like just stealing somebody else's work. There's a bit of a thing with the 3D printing community where sometimes they can be a little bit cowboy-like when it comes to other people's models. So I like to sort of have like I want to know what's gone on has been something I've contributed to and made. And it also means that I've got a bit of a handle on how accurate it is. This is another Blake 7 model, and this was made for Killer, and this is an original design.
There it is, look. It's just leaving the ionosphere.
They're sending up a salvager from Phosphoron.
Oh, they'll get a surprise.
Somewhat original. This is another one by Richard. And the idea behind this one was to take the original concept for the London done by Ian Scoons and sort of have it start in the front and then make it more of a Matt Irvine model towards it gets to the back. So it starts with Ian. It's Ian in the front and Matt in the back. So you have kind of the space shuttle sort of influence, but obviously it's a much more rugged design, and this was done because in Killer they used stock footage for the launch, or like they just used a rocket launch for the salvage ship, and then for its landing they just reused that shot over London.
Yeah.
So we thought this was a nice opportunity to sort of expand the universe out and just have something nice and new.
How heavy is something like that?
It's not that heavy. Like we've had lighter models, but we put this on strings whenever we flew it. We went out to my friend's farm and shot it against the real sky. So moving over to Doctor Who, this is one of the models I've made. So this is the Dalek battle cruiser from Resurrection to Daleks. That's not only can be seen in that episode, but also in the comic that just came out. Lee Sullivan asked me for some references of it. This is a bit bigger. I probably made this too big, if I'm going to be entirely honest. But we really wanted for its initial reveal, whenever in the episode where it kind of flies by, I wanted to get as close to it as possible. Whereas the original one kind of appears, settles in front of the camera, then goes up. Whereas we wanted something that really went like properly past the camera in one fluid motion. So that's why that is so big. And then another Richard Ashton one that
I assume in terms of filming techniques, you use the model stays stationary, you move the camera to give the motion?
Sometimes for that one, we actually used a much more older technique of shoot at a high frame rate and just yeet it. And I did move the camera, so the puppeteer has it and is able to do the kind of movements, and then the camera just goes past it on a dolly.
Right, wow.
For Androzani, I got Richard to build this. So this is much smaller, but we only needed it for a couple of shots. This is the Gunrunner's ship. And Blake 7 fans will be familiar with this because this is the ship from Gold, just with its front broken off and painted in a slightly different way. And then Richard did a bit of a Chris Foss pattern across it just to make it really gnarly and all detailed and really dirty looking. And then the front is a bit more Babylon 5 because in caves, you don't really get a good look at it. And also, it's always been held just out of frame. So it's kind of hard to see what it's doing, really, because it sort of does that sort of motion. And also, it's really overlit and a bit out of focus. So I tried to kind of match the colors of the Androzani Major in these. So it does come off kind of colorful, but hopefully in a way that's not too jarring.
Is it filmed on film or videotape? With
digital.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the original one would have been filmed.
The original caves. Do they film it on film or video?
Film.
Film. Okay.
Yeah.
And now it's just all digital now. Yeah.
Yeah, they literally they got that model from Blake 7, split it in half. The back half was Morgus's ship later on with some Imperial shuttle wings stuck onto it, and then the front half ended up being this for the gun runners. I'm just going to take a little adventure for this one. We have the Myrka.
Word with the
Yeah, so this was a puppet that was made by Chris Stevens, who's a prolific Star Wars sculptor that lives in Belfast. And we made a hand puppet of the Myrka to do a bunch of tests with, and it was a bit mixed. So I really wanted it to look like it was made it still looked like it could have been done at the time. So what I did was I got that commissioned and we shot some stuff with it, and then we scanned it in 3D using a 3D scanner. So what you see in the final episode is a mix between real stuff with that's composited in front of a blue screen, and then CG stuff, which kind of means that we can sort of integrate it with camera angles and stuff like that a bit better.
Very. Let's get back to the bridge.
So, but I think he did an amazing job with it, and the response to Warriors has been particularly good.
Oh, it's brilliant.
I mean, Wars of the Deep is one of my. I always loved it anyway, even with all the lousy, bad special effects and the overlits and all that. But what they've done in terms of the new version is amazing, and that the Myrka is just amazing. Like I'm really impressed.
It was quite tricky. Like it's definitely one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. But
what's it made from?
That's made from latex. So there's some stuff you can do with it. It's not as good at walking as for the CG one would be, but I think the puppet one's scarier in some ways. It looks a little bit more gnarlier. Like it's got its pluses and benefits. We also had the Magma Beast, which was slightly redone as well. Commissioned James Burgess to do that one, so it was just a head replacement.
Geostationary orbit. If it wasn't for you, we'd be well on our way home.
I think one of the most interesting things on Warriors of the Deep was the way that, because I had in my mind, we got to speed up the walking of the Silurians and the Sea Devils because that takes up so much time. Was that an idea of yours to speed them up?
No, that was Pete, and I don't think he speed him up. I think he literally just cut bits out because you can always tell. The problem when you're dealing with interlaced footage is that as soon as the fields don't go the correct way, it can suddenly give you a bit of a weird effect.
Oh, really?
So yeah, no, I think he just cut bits out more than sped things up and things like that. Pete really kind of led the charge on that one, Pete McTighe, because we'd sort of discussed it in advance, and he had sort of a list of things that he wanted, and then he did an edit, and then that list grew gradually larger, specifically adding the removal of the eye light so he could move the dialogue around if needed.
Yes, that was good.
And actually, out of Warriors, that's what I was the most worried about. That's what I'm staring at when I'm looking at those shots. But interestingly, nobody else was. Somebody at the BFI told me that they only realized I'd taken it out whenever it actually lights up later in the episode.
I noticed it. I noticed it straight away. So, they've taken that out. That's a good move.
So at the moment, you're working on season 3 of Blake 7?
Yeah, so it has gone up for pre-order. Going through the special effects on it, a couple of challenges on it, really. It's sort of this point where we're kind of a well-oiled machine by now. Like we know what we're doing. Whenever an episode comes in, I can just go to Cafe Nero and blitz through a lot of the simple stuff, and then spend a bit more time working on those spaceship shots. And we're also starting from a pretty good angle as well because we already have so much archive stuff of the Liberator. Like I've not had to take it out. Well, I've had to take it out for one shoot so far, which was under fun circumstances, which you'll find out eventually.
I've got a question about season 3 because a lot of your shots are model shots and things like that. What about like something like the Harvest of Kairos where you've got the giant bee buzzy thing? Are you doing anything with that?
Maybe.
I look forward to see. I look forward to see the result.
Say. No, that's good.
Yeah. No, again, it's fun because we like this is giving us an opportunity to bring out all the old guns in terms of special effects work. It's basically like an academy. It's like learning how to finding out all these systems and how everything was done back in the day, work out how to do it properly, which is really, really nice. And again, I think with the way that the industry is going, because I'm starting to get a lot of work based on that. I think there's a real feeling that people are looking for authenticity now more than spectacle, I think, which is why you're seeing a sort of a move away from CG and a move away and like a lack of adoption of generative AI in favor of practical miniatures and practical monsters and makeup and things like that, which I find really, really like inspiring.
Seeming like a kid in a candy shop, lollies everywhere to play with. What are you most excited about at the moment?
There's nothing I can necessarily say. There's a few things which I'm waiting for confirmation that I am actually doing. that are quite exciting. There's a major thing coming up on the Jerry Anderson side of things, which I'm really looking forward to. I look forward to being able to talk about it as well.
Chris, thank you so much for your time. We have been loving your work. If you actually watch our episodes, you will see that we talk about the work that you're doing every episode, because a couple of people, Dwayne in particular, is a huge fan of all the changes. I must admit, I still love the original, but I am enjoying the new as well, and particularly with Duel, the fact that you added a few different shots in, which you hadn't done before now, because most of the shots are reproductions of original shots, but looking better. I did love the fact, though, that you added a few extra shots in Duel, which actually added to the heighten of the attack in that first scene, which I think really added to, made it much better. So thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing box set 3 and 4 coming out soon.
Fingers crossed. No, it's funny because it's trying to find ways to make it more apparent what's going on is very helpful. So doing those little extra bits really make it fun. But I am glad that you've been enjoying it, and I'm excited for you to get to season 2, because that's where things really improves.
Yeah, we look forward to having you. Actually, we'll talk to you again next year, and we'll chat through what you've done in season 2.
Perfect. Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching Blake 7 The Way Back, the interviews with Dwayne Bunny and Philip Aitney. Special thanks to our guest today, special effects wizard Chris Thompson. Thanks also to the whole team making the Blake 7 and Doctor Who effects both in the past and now on Blu-ray. Original effects were by visual effects designer Ian Scones, graphic designer Bob Bladen, electronic effects by AJ Mitchell. New alternative effects, VFX producer Chris Thompson, and his team, Richard Ashton, Andrew Clements, Connor Flanagan, Matt Irvine, Ben Page, Matt Patrick, Mike Tucker, Ryan Wade, and Pete McDye. And my apologies to anyone I may have left off. Original theme by Joe Kramer, and other music by Dudley Simpson. Please like and subscribe, and leave a review or comment and send to your friends. Join us next time with episode 11, Bounty, where we will be joined by set designer and Liberator creator Roger Murray Leach.